Hi, everybody. This is the Mindfulness-Based Stress Reduction Program. This is Class 1, and this is where we're going to talk about creating a stable container for our program. So I have had a chance to meet with all the new participants in the intake interviews. And in our intakes, whether that was in this session or a previous session for returning participants, we have determined together that this is the right time and the place for you to do this program. And it's a place to learn the practice of mindfulness to help us to respond more skillfully to the challenges and to the stressors that arise in our lives. So in support of that, we are going to be spending the next 20 minutes to half an hour or so creating a really stable holding container for the whole group that will allow us to do this work together in a way that feels safe and supportive. So we're going to begin with a confidentiality agreement. So I believe that all of you filled out a registration form, and at the end of that form, it's my understanding that you agreed to respect the privacy and confidentiality of the other individuals in the group. I'd like to review in a little bit more detail what that means practically. So I'm just going to read through 6 points. And I'm also going to notice a bit of a limit to confidentiality just because we are online. And that's just the reality of being online. But at the end of this, I'm going to ask for everybody, once again, to raise their hand for group agreement. So here's a chance to practice some mindful listening. So point number 1, I agree that what goes on in this group stays in the group. While I may want to share my own experiences of mindfulness with the people in my life, and that's okay, I won't speak about other people in the group. Point number 2, I will not share or make notes of the names of group participants. Point number 3, I will not make notes that include any personal or potentially identifying details discussed by participants. Point number 4, I will be located where my screen cannot be seen by others in my home and will wear headphones if my audio might be overheard. Number 5, I will not record or take screen captures of any group session, and I will not copy, paste, or save any chat logs. If there is another person in my home who can see my screen, I understand I will leave the session after informing Laura and will not log back until the concern is resolved. So, and I just want to note now the limits to confidentiality, and after that we're going to pause recording and then everybody can let me know if you agree. So the limits to the confidentiality being online is that you understand that while Laura and I have made every effort to respect the privacy and confidentiality in this online learning environment, you also understand that there are risks and limitation involved in maintaining privacy when we're video conferencing. So Laura, can we pause recording for a moment? Now what I want to talk about is creating a really safe container for this group. So it's important to note that this program has both an educational component and a chance to practice mindfulness techniques, both in the class and at home. You will have the opportunity to share your experience of these practices, both in the whole group and also in smaller breakout rooms of 3 to 4 people. And we're going to have a chance to experience that later in the class. So, wow, strong emotions, thoughts, body sensations can arise as you do these mindfulness practices. It is really important to distinguish what we're doing in this program from group therapy. So I really want to emphasize there is no expectation for you to be fixed or for you to fix anybody else in this program. Mindfulness is simply about learning to be present and holding space for the experiences that arise in each moment for you with non-judgment, curiosity. So please ensure that you have adequate supports in your life. That can be family, it can be friends, it could be your healthcare provider, it could be a counselor, it could be a therapist. So make sure you've got the support you need. And please reach out to Laura and myself if there is any question around that or concern. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go into share screen because, and I in the intakes, I went through talking about the window of tolerance with quite a few of you, but I might have missed some explaining this to some of you. So I want to make sure everybody's on the same page with how I also ensure safety by making sure that the practices and the whole program is trauma sensitive. And so I want to explain about the window of tolerance. And this is something that we're going to go back to over and over. All right. So this is the window of tolerance that I explained to a lot of you. So what I'm really interested in through doing the practices of mindfulness is making sure that you can safely be and explore your experiences that arise in the moment, even when there's a certain intensity or discomfort or even unpleasantness about the experience. And the way you know you're able to stay present with what's arising in the moment is that you're still able to learn. You're able to take in new information, both from inside yourself with the arising thoughts and body sensations and emotions, and also from others. And really, this is at the heart of mindfulness because what we're learning how to do is to learn how to be in relationship with the stressors and challenges that arise in our lives in a way that we can stay regulated and hold space around these challenges and these stressors so that we can really be clear about the life-affirming choices we can take. And that happens when we're doing the mindfulness practices within a window of tolerance. Now, above and below in this sort of peach-colored areas is when your nervous system becomes dysregulated. And for some people, it might be this feeling of extreme agitation, of getting very defensive and angry, or wanting to flee, feeling very afraid and needing to actually just leave. And so that experience, we know we're out of our window when we're so agitated that we're unable to learn and take in new information. And we may be experiencing overwhelming images, memories, anxieties, or worries. So in this program, we're going to become aware of when we're in our window and when we're outside, and what to do, the practices to do when we're in our window, and the strategies we can take when we're outside our window. So similarly with fight or flight, down here, we can also literally freeze and become numb or disconnected, where we feel really out of tune with our thoughts, our emotions, our physical sensations. And again, a clue here, the same as for fight or flight, you're unable to learn and take in new information. So those are clues. When you're feeling just so agitated that everything's very confusing and jumbled, those might be signs when it might be appropriate to do different practices. So I'm just going to go to the left here, and I'm going to talk about different strategies you can use if you feel like you've moved out of your window of tolerance. So I'm actually going to jump to the bottom here, and the last 2 bullet points. Private, this is why it's so important to understand how to message just Laura, because you're going to be private messaging Laura if you're feeling like you're outside of your window, to let her know. And if you need to quietly leave the class, that's totally fine. We support you in doing that. If you want to turn your screen off for a while and maybe go make yourself a cup of tea or get a glass of water, that is totally fine too. So you can rejoin the group when you feel ready, knowing that we're going to be recording these sessions, so you won't be missing a thing. So the other thing you can do is, if you're doing a mindfulness practice, you may want to stop if you're finding that you're outside of your window. You may want to open your eyes and look around and just notice different objects in the room. You may want to stand up. You may want to feel your feet on the ground as you perhaps walk around, and just really feeling your feet on the ground. And actually, the walking meditation is amazing for this. And I believe around week 3, I'm going to guide you through a walking meditation. You could practice slow, relaxed breathing, perhaps with longer exhales. I mentioned drinking a glass of water or making tea. You can wrap yourself in a blanket. Name 5 things you can see, hear, and feel, and describe them to yourself in as much detail as possible. You could splash water on your face. Some people actually even find holding an ice cube in their hand a way to kind of just really feel yourself in the here and the now. So those are some of the ways that you can practice noticing when you're outside of your window and what you can do. And by the way, I'm going to be sending you the confidentiality agreements, the window of tolerance, and this next piece of information to create this stable container, because it's so important. So, does anybody have any questions? If you do, raise your hand and we'll stop recording if anybody has any questions around the window of tolerance. You're going to get very familiar. I'm going to be talking about it a lot during this program. Okay, so if you find yourself feeling unusually overwhelmed or unwell during the week in between classes, please contact your healthcare provider and also let Laura and I know. Okay, and outside of class, you can always get hold of me by emailing Laura, and we can arrange a conversation if that would be helpful. And then finally, please don't drink or use substances prior to the program sessions. We want to be fully aware of our experiences in this program, and this is difficult to do with substances or alcohol on board. Okay, so if anybody has any questions or concerns, you can email Laura, and I'm happy to talk to you about that. All right. let's talk about some community agreements. So I am going to go, so we've done confidentiality agreement, window of tolerance, now community agreements. Who'd have thought we'd be doing all of this stuff before we even got down to mindfulness? But Laura and I have discovered it's really good to do this up front. So I'm going to share screen again. So let's talk about community agreements. Okay, so let's talk about the first point, showing up. You guys were awesome. You guys were all pretty much here by 7 or 6 p.m. And that is fantastic. I also know that life happens. You know, somebody had to make dinner for their kid. Sometimes Zoom decides to update on you. I know, but do your best to show up 5 minutes early and stay until the end. If you're going to be late, if you need to leave early or miss a session, let us know in advance or as soon as you possibly can by emailing Laura. If life happens and you are late, just sign on and join us. The second point is sharing. So I've alluded to this, but I'm going to talk about it again. There will be opportunities to share our experiences of mindful practice. So many participants in past programs have commented that their most meaningful moments in the program come through listening to others, sharing their lived experiences of mindful practice. So this sharing of our mindful experiences is a personal choice, and we respect that. And I'm also going to say that, suggest that those of you who know yourself to speak a lot, I encourage you to have your say and then maybe to try to listen. Similarly, those of you who tend to speak less, there may come a time in the program where you decide to share more, and we welcome to do that. So the third point is listening, and we actually devote a whole class to mindful listening. That comes later. So in the meantime, I'd like to say this. There may be times when you feel a strong pull to give advice or to talk about your own experience when someone else is sharing. While this is a very familiar pull for many of us, our support for others is most deeply felt in our silent, non-judgmental, compassionate presence. So, this sometimes happens if crosstalk or unsolicited advice occurs when somebody else is sharing. I will gently remind you of this policy. Okay, 4, attention to others is so important in this program to give each other the attention we deserve. So because we're online on Zoom is no different. So try to act as if you were physically present in the same room, sitting in a circle with others. For most of us, this means sitting in front of our computer and giving our full attention to the other participants, unless otherwise instructed. And I encourage you to turn off your phone and your email and not talk with anyone outside the group during the class. And of course, remember, and I mentioned this before, everything that you do is visible to others. So try to refrain from those distracting activities like moving your device around, eating, etc. 5th point, dignity. we ask that each participant respect the dignity of others in this group, refraining from humiliating, abusing, or intentionally harming someone in any way. Any abusive, defamatory, or derogatory phrases based on race, sex, sexual orientation, gender, identity, age, religious or political beliefs, disabilities, ethnicity, nationality, directed against another person in this program will not be tolerated. Breaking this agreement will be grounds for being removed from the group. Number 6, managing technical challenges. As they arise, there may be times when you experience technical difficulties. Laura is here during the class and after class to help you. Remember, this Zoom program for a lot of us in the Charlotte Lake area is on rural internet. I guarantee you that this will be perfectly imperfect, and it will be a practice in mindfulness to roll with it as best we can. So I'm going to stop share here, but I'm wondering if there are any other community agreements that anybody would like in order to feel really comfortable working together as a group. If anybody has any other things to add to the community agreements, I'm happy to hear, and we'll pause recording before we do that. Okay, well, if there are no other suggestions in terms of additions to community agreements, and if you think of something, let us know, and we'll talk about it next week. Okay, so I'll just briefly reiterate your experience of meditation. So if you don't have experience, just treat this experience of the mindfulness practices we offer with openness and curiosity, and you can't do it wrong. So I'll just say it that way. For those of you who have meditation experience, is to also be open and curious. To have a present moment experience with this group, rather than being pulled into expectations of your past experiences with meditation. So I'm going to say, if you have a current meditation practice that you do use, I'm going to ask that for the next 8 weeks, you pause that practice. And until our group is over, and do the same practices that I'm giving you for the home assignments. Because you need to give this a college try. You need to try these practices on, and it gets confusing if they're diluted with what you're already doing. Okay, so anybody have any questions on that? If so, we'll pause. And then finally, a couple books here. Although it is not required reading, I don't know if you guys can read that. This is a tome. This is a thick book. This is by Jon Kabat-Zinn, Full Catastrophe Living. And everything that I'm teaching you in this program comes from this book. And the first edition was written in 1979. And Jon Kabat-Zinn, who wrote this book, is very famous. He's sort of considered the father of modern sort of Western approach to mindfulness. And yeah, and I find that if I just open up this book randomly to any page, there's an insight for me. So it's not one that you have to read cover to cover sequentially. This is a very interesting book. So if you're the kind of person who likes to dive in deeper to things, I think, Laura, we've got tons of copies at the Charlotte Lake Family Health Team. Is that correct?
Yeah, we do. So really anyone who's interested in borrowing a copy, just give me a shout by email and I can leave one for you at the front desk at the medical center.
Charlotte Lake Family Health Team and Laura can give you the address. If you want to do a road trip, there's a great cafe in Charlotte Lake. It's worth going. Great coffee, good eats there. So you might want to just do a road trip to Charlotte Lake and pick up your free copy for the duration of this program. Okay, so that's one thing. The other is the other book other thing I talked about was trauma sensitive mindfulness. This book by David Treleaven was a game changer for me in both my own teaching and practice. And this is where I got the concept of window of tolerance. So if anybody's interested in the whole concept of the intersection of mindfulness with trauma, that's your book. Okay. Thanks. So awareness and mindfulness are fundamental. So I'm going to actually, because this is kind of important, and you know, repetition never hurt anybody. So I'm going to go back to no matter what the challenges that you're facing in your life, it's a fact that as long as you're breathing, there's more right with you than wrong with you. So challenges and difficulties are part of the human experience. And as you will learn in this program, and as I can attest, having done these practices for a number of years now, these challenges and difficulties are workable. So awareness and mindfulness are fundamental to this work. What does that mean? It means paying attention to what is happening in your life right now. Not in the past and not in the future, but in the here and now without added commentary or judgment. So mindfulness actually starts when we recognize the habit patterns of just being on automatic pilot and making that commitment to learn how to best step out of it, to become aware of each moment. So how do we do that? So we do that by, it's so simple we almost miss it. We do it by becoming more aware of our thoughts as they arise and our feelings, and that's like body sensations, and our emotions. And we do this moment to moment to moment. And what that does, as you will see going through this program, it actually gives us the possibility of greater freedom and choice. So we don't have to go into the same old habit patterns of reactivity, mental ruts that have caused us problems in the past. So the aim of MBSR is to help you to develop the muscle of your attention, your awareness, so that we can respond to situations with choice rather than reacting automatically. So we do this by practicing to be more and more aware of where our attention goes. And then deliberately, where we choose to focus our attention, trying to keep it there, and then when it goes away, we redirect it back to that object of our attention. And it's akin, I like the analogy of shining a flashlight around a room. So without mindfulness, the light of our attention is just randomly going all over the place. The beam just drifts all over. With purposeful attention, we can steady the flashlight on particular areas in the room. So what we're going to do now is we are going to explore shining the flashlight of our attention on something that's actually with us 24/7, and I already alluded to with the John Kabat-Zinn quote, as long as you're breathing, there's more right with you than wrong with you. So we're going to turn the flashlight of our attention on our breathing, something that we do approximately 20,000 times a day. Your breath is literally your closest friend. It's been with you since the day you were born, and yet we barely notice it. So what we're going to do is we're just going to choose for the next 3 minutes to try to direct our attention to focus on the breath, the feeling of the breath as it flows in and out, and as best you can, simply witnessing the breath as it flows in and the breath as it flows out. So we're going to try to be with this for the next 3 minutes. So I'm going to set this timer for 3 minutes. And so that's so that you don't panic, because this might feel like the longest 3 minutes in your life. Maybe yes, maybe no. And that's your task. See if you can direct the flashlight of your attention on the awareness of your breathing. Are you ready? Sit with your feet firmly on the ground. Feel your seat in the chair. Let your posture be upright, but not uptight. And I am going to start the bell now, and I will let you know when we're done with 3 minutes. By the way, your eyes can be open or closed. And starting now. And open your eyes. Okay, so that's your first experience of mindfulness. By focusing your attention on an object, and I'm curious about what arose. So Laura, could we pause the recording for a moment? Wish, it's always optional. I'm just going to turn the screen down here. All right, so find a place where you can stand comfortably and just allow your feet to be hip width apart. And just let your shoulders relax down and let your gaze to be to the horizon. So we're going to do a practice now where we're going to pay attention in the moment as we go through some gentle movements. And as we go through these movements, I really encourage you to notice where the body tells you, I've gone far enough to raise my arm, for example. I encourage you not to move into pain in any of the movements, but to practice curiosity and kindness for yourself. And when I say that, some of the movements you may choose to skip altogether, and that is absolutely fine. So I'm just going to turn to the side here so you can see me. So my feet are hip width apart, and my hips, this is where your thigh bone connects to your pelvis, so that's your hip. So let it, if you were to drop a plumb line, let it be right over your heels. And then see if your shoulders can drop a plumb line over your hips and your heels and your ears over shoulders, hips, knees, and heels. And in this position, gently begin to roll your shoulders back, up, forward, down. And as you're doing this, can you notice what you're feeling in the body as you go back, up, forward, down? Noticing your breathing. Just let your breathing be relaxed and steady. And let's reverse the movement if you care to. So forward and up, back, down. As I do it, I'm even hearing little clicks and pops, so I'm just noticing that. Seeing if I can keep my ears aligned over my shoulders as I roll those shoulders. And then I'm going to point my thumbs forward with the palms facing together. And as I'm breathing in, I'm going to slowly travel my arms forward and up, respecting when my own body says, I've gone as far as I can. And as my arms travel back down, maybe on the next exhale, I'm going to notice the air, the touch of the air on my skin as those arms travel back down. So staying present in the moment with what's happening right in the here and now. Let's do that again. So what are you noticing in your fingers, in your hands, in your shoulders, in your neck? Respecting limits as you slowly travel those arms back in. And one more time. Traveling those arms as far up as you're comfortable, or skipping the movement if that feels better. And slowly traveling those arms. Can you feel the subtle touch of the air on your skin? The touch of your clothes? And as your arms arrive down alongside the body, can you drop your attention into your arms and hands? What do you notice? Just curious, just friendly. Noticing what's here because it's already here. And then I'm just going to turn the seat of my chair around just as a way to guide my movement, because this is called the chair pose. And the seat of the chair actually helps me. So what I'm going to do here is, with the seat of the chair behind me, I'm just going to reach my bum back as if I was sitting in the chair. Arms reach forward. I don't actually touch down into the chair. And I'm just monitoring, how do my knees feel here? Should I go down as deep, maybe a little less deep? As I come back up, what do I notice in my legs, my knees? And again, if this feels like a movement you want to try again, you can play with how far down you go. So you're curious, you're friendly. How far do I want to do this? Am I getting pain signals that are telling me I should maybe back it up a bit and come back up? And one more time, I'm going to reach my bum back. So the arms reach forward. Up. And again, I'm just going to pause for a moment and notice, what am I feeling right now? Do I notice a thought popping into my head, or is there an emotion here? And then we're going to turn to face the seat of the chair. And you'll notice that my knees aren't super bent for this one, but they're also not locked. They can move a little bit here, but with my legs relatively straight, I'm going to just put palms of my hands on the front of my thighs, and I'm going to just hinge at my hips. So my spine isn't going to round or do anything. I'm just hinging at my hips as my bum reaches back, and my spine is staying pretty neutral. And I may want to touch my hands to the chair or just keep my hands on the thighs. And then I'm going to just really root down into my feet and use the strength of the back of my legs to bring me back up to standing. So let's try that one again. So my spine isn't actually moving. It's not rounding. It's not doing anything. The only thing that's happening is I'm hinging at my hips, and my bum is reaching back to the wall behind me as my hands glide down my legs, honoring any pain signals. And I may want to touch my hands to the chair here. Notice how my chest is lifted. And then bringing my hands back, you may want to use your hands to walk up the legs or contract the back of your legs, come back up to standing. We're going to do that one more time. So with the legs relatively straight, I'm reaching my bum back, and notice if there's any sensation in the back of the leg or maybe your bum. What are you noticing in your back? Do you need to respect some limits and come out of this? And come back up. Just pause for a moment and notice what you're feeling. Can you stay curious and friendly? Are some of the sensations quite pleasant? Are some of them rather unpleasant? Can you bring a curiosity to that? And then from here, can you bring your legs a little wider than your hips? And this may or may not be a movement you want to do. It's your choice. And you turn your toes out a little bit so that your knees are turned out and your toes are turned out. And then can you roll your shoulders forward and up and back a little bit? And you may want to turn your palms to face outwards and stretch through your fingers. Now you can travel your arms forward and up like we did before, or you could travel your arms out to the sides and up like you were tracing the sides of the sun. With the arms up, if that is comfortable for you, turning your palms to face forward. And here we're going to begin to bend the knees, letting them to continue open like a book, and bend your elbows and squeeze your shoulder blades together as if you had cactus arms. And then slowly pressing through the feet, reaching the arms up, straightening the legs. And again, could you As you exhale, bend those knees, opening them out. Bend those elbows and feel your shoulder blades squeezing together. And inhale up. And one more time, if you care to, respecting your limits. Coming down, palms are facing forward. Coming up. Slowly float those arms down. Can you feel the touch of the air on your skin? Can you feel sensations in the arms and in the hands as the arms float down? And stepping your feet together and pausing for a moment, noticing what you notice. And then if you're near a wall or you want to turn around so that the back of the chair is underneath your left hand, you can always have your hand here for additional support, or you can keep both hands on your waist. So we're going to root down into that left leg. And we're going to just bring our right leg out to the side. So we'll give you a side view. It's just coming right out to the side, not very high. And then coming back down. You can touch your foot to the floor, or you can let it hover if you want a little bit more challenge to your balance. And again, rooting down into that supporting left leg. Can you take your right leg out to the side? Maybe both hands on the hips, maybe one hand on a chair. And come back down. And one more time. Pause for a moment. Notice how it is in your body. Notice how it is in your mind. And if you need to, switch the chair so it's underneath your right hand or your hand on a wall. And again, root down, staying really tall here. Root down into that right foot. Take the left leg out to the side, not very high. And bring it back in. And out to the side. Bring it back in, honoring how your body's feeling. If you're feeling shaky, you're feeling tired, it's okay. You can stop. Let's do a third time. And then what we're going to do is we're going to notice what's arising in this moment. What's arising in your thoughts? What's arising in your body sensations? The emotions here. Just noticing. And then let's come to sit in the chair. And we'll do one final movement, sitting to the edge of your chair. And then just rounding your spine a little so that you're looking down between your heels. And then with my fingers kind of hooked over the edge of my knees, I'm just going to keep my arms straight. And I'm just going to let my chest shine forward a little bit. My back straightens. And then exhale, I'm going to round again. And inhale. Letting the chest lift. They're not big movements, just easy movements, nothing extreme. And rounding as you exhale. And then coming back into just an easy position. You may want to sit back in your chair. Make sure the chair has good support for you, not kind of slumped in a lazy boy. And then with your ears over the shoulders, just slowly turn to look over your right shoulder. Just until you feel that gentle end range in your tissues. And slowly back to center. And slowly turn to your left. Back to center. And then without elevating either shoulder, can you gently drop right ear towards the right shoulder? And just feel the end range of the movement. Left side of your neck. And coming up, ears over shoulders. And left ear to the left shoulder. And just noticing the sensations, letting them be as they are. And come back to center. And we're going to go now into our first formal meditation. So I asked you to have a raisin or a cranberry. Give you a moment to go find that and grab 1 or 2 raisins or cranberries. So if you've got your 1 or 2 raisin or cranberries, I'm going to ask you to just pick up 1. And this first meditation, formal meditation practice we're going to do, so the breathing meditation and the movements we just did, they're informal. This is our first formal one. And what we're going to do is pay attention to this object in a way that you don't normally pay attention to it. And we're going to begin by having you pick up that one object and look at it as if you were looking at it for the first time. So I'm just going to put it in the palm of my other hand, and I'm noticing the shape of it. I'm noticing how the light glints off of it, and I'm turning it around and I'm looking at it from all angles. I'm noticing the color of it. I'm noticing ridges and valleys. And as I look at it, I actually notice at one end of it, there's a circular scarring that tells me that this little something was once connected to a much larger whole. And you can close your eyes if you like and feel this object. And can you notice the ridges and the valleys? Is there a stickiness to it? And if you were to even take that little object and place it in the palm of one hand to feel the weight of it, the heft of it. And then very slowly, you can open your eyes and you can take it in your thumb and forefinger and slowly bring it up to your nose, where you can inhale its aroma, its fragrance. Being with this object through the domain of smell. And then if you care to, you could take this little object and bring it up to your ear. And if you were to slowly roll it in your thumb, in your forefinger, you may even notice some sound. We don't normally think a raisin or a cranberry as having sounds, of just noticing what it is that you're noticing. And then slowly bringing the object down once again to where you can see it. And holding it where you can see it, not too far from your mouth. Very slowly start to bring this object towards your lips, very slowly. Now, as I do it, I'm noticing a secreting of saliva. Nothing has happened yet. This object isn't in my mouth, but my mind is anticipating eating. And the whole phenomena of eating is starting to happen where enzymes are being created to break down the food without this object even touching the mouth. This is a mind-body phenomenon. Now, when you feel ready, bring that object very close to your mouth. And without biting down on it, notice the intelligence of your teeth and your tongue to begin to bring this object into your mouth so that it is positioned between your teeth. Don't bite down on it yet. And then, very slowly, you can take 3, 4, maybe 5 slow, deliberate chews. Very slow. Remaining open to any of the sensory domains, the domain of taste. What are you hearing? What is the texture? And continue to chew, to taste, moment by moment, without swallowing it yet. Be in touch with the impulse to swallow and notice what has to happen to get position for swallowing. And then being in touch with the swallowing. And in the aftermath of swallowing, see if you can follow with your attention down into the belly where it's come to rest. And then expanding your awareness to the body as a whole, sitting here, just having eaten one raisin, one cranberry, with this present moment, open-hearted, spacious attention. Resting here in this being. In this awareness. Feeling how things are right now. In this moment. in the aftermath of all that comes before, in the seeing, in the smelling, in the hearing, in the tasting, in the chewing, in the swallowing. Can you feel how it is in the body, the mouth, the heart, and how it is in the mind? Just resting here. You could say, outside of time, in the present moment, without having to have anything happen next. Be that which knows the experience in its unfolding, as it's unfolding. Resting here, moment by moment by moment. When you feel ready, you can open your eyes. So come to rest, lying on your back. You could be on a padded surface on the floor, or on your bed, or in a way that you can rest comfortably. It could be a couch, but you want to be able to stretch out. You want to get yourself comfortable, so you don't want to be cold, so you may want to have a blanket on top of you. I'll just say, if you get yourself too comfortable, you may nod off into Never Never Land, and that's okay. So just find a way, maybe with support underneath your knees and head, whatever will make for minimal discomfort. Let your arms come alongside your body with the palms facing up, if that is comfortable for you. And maybe just allowing your feet to fall away from one another. If lying on your back is difficult, then lying in a position that is comfortable for you, or even changing your posture if you need to. All the while, maintaining a continuity in the awareness of what is happening in each moment. Keep in mind, just like Bridget shared earlier, the body scan is an invitation to fall awake rather than falling asleep, no matter how relaxed you may become. You may want to keep your eyes open from time to time if any feelings of drowsiness arise. It's an invitation to rest in this moment with an open mind and heart. What is important is the awareness of what you're experiencing in any given moment. Even in those moments when difficult or unpleasant thoughts, feelings, and emotions arise. In fact, it's especially important to put out the welcome mat when those experiences arise and rest in open-hearted, non-reactive attending as best you can. No one says this is easy, but this is at the heart of the being mode that we are now cultivating here. as best you can, letting go of the tendency to want things to be different than how they are right now. Accepting things exactly as they are. Allow yourself to be exactly as you are. This is a time for you. See if you can allow this to be a nourishing time. Letting go of judgmental and critical thoughts in particular as best you can, and be aware of how you feel. There is no right way to feel. The way you are feeling is the way you are feeling right now. Accepting this and giving yourself permission to feel what you're already feeling and knowing it's okay. Let's begin by bringing your attention to a sense of your whole body lying here. Remember, as long as you're breathing, there's more right with you than wrong with you. No matter what the condition of your body and its history, and no matter what you're facing in this moment. As you lie here, feeling the sensations of contact with the surface you're lying on, feeling the touch of the air on your skin, feeling the wave-like rhythms of the breath as the breath flows in and out of the body. Noticing where the breath is most apparent. Maybe you're feeling it the most in the chest, or in the belly, or at the nostrils. And as you lie here, seeing if it is possible to open to and rest in an awareness of the body as a whole, breathing moment by moment and breath by breath, seeing if it is possible to sink deeper into the surface you're lying as the muscles of your body let go with every out breath. Noticing if there are times when the mind wanders or gets carried away by the thought stream. In those moments, simply noticing what's on the mind and then gently bringing your attention back to the breath and to the body lying here. Keep in mind it's the nature of the mind to wander and to think, so it's bound to happen a lot. And it is not a sign that you are doing anything wrong. Now, let's shift the attention from the body as a whole lying and bring the flashlight of your attention now down into the toes of your left foot. Really tuning into them. Perhaps distinguishing each toe from all the others. Bring a friendly attention to the various sensations. Perhaps a sense of your toes touching one another. Or perhaps you're feeling coolness, or warmth, or moisture, tingling, or numbness. The actual sensations aren't important. Just experiencing the sensations as they arise in your awareness. It may include not feeling any sensation at all, which is also considered a sensation. Being aware if you're experiencing these sensations as pleasant or unpleasant or neutral, barely noticing them. Be aware if you're having any emotional reactions as they arise, whether it's sadness, or boredom, impatience, judging. Allowing all of this to be held in awareness moment by moment as we lie here without having to do anything at all. Just being present to what is unfolding, continually coming back with the flashlight of your attention to the toes themselves. And as we lie here attending to the toes of the foot, see if you can feel the breath traveling from the nose down to the toes on the in-breath, and from the toes out through the nose on the out-breath. And now taking a deeper inhalation right into the toes, and let your attention just cradle them for a moment. And then on your next out breath, let your attention go from the toes and shift your attention to the bottom of the foot and the sides of the foot. Can you breathe in and out of this part of your left foot? And then on your next out breath, shifting your attention to the top of the foot. Just seeing what you're noticing, moment by moment, breath by breath, bringing the mind back to this region if we notice it's being carried away by the thought stream. And once again, breathing into the top of your left foot. And as you breathe out, letting your attention shift and move to the ankle, shin, and calf. Feeling the sensations on the surface and deep in the bone. Moment by moment. Breath by breath. Allowing it to be as it already is. Accepting the feelings we're feeling. And then breathing in to the lower leg. And as you breathe out, bring your attention now to the knee, kneecap, sides of the knee, back of the knee. Noticing what's here to be felt. And then breathing into the knee. And on an out breath, when you're ready, moving our attention to the thigh, the inner groin, outer hip, feeling whatever sensations are here to be felt, moment by moment. And when you are ready, take in a deep breath into the thigh and then shifting your attention as we exhale into your right toes. Breathing into your right toe. And then when you're ready, breathing out into the whole of your right foot. Bottom of the foot, sides of the foot, top of the foot. Feeling the sensations as they are. Breathing into the right foot, and as you breathe out, breathing out into the lower right leg and knee. Tuning into whatever sensations are to be felt as we lie here. Once again, letting go here as the breath lets go, dissolving your attention into the lower leg and shifting our attention into the right thigh, observing the sensations, whatever they are. Perhaps heaviness or lightness or warmth. Breathing into your right thigh and then breathing out once again and shifting your attention now into the pelvis, the buttocks, the pelvic floor. When you're ready, breathing out and watching the whole area soften and release. Totally present, totally content just to be as you are right now. Directing our attention to the lower back, to the lumbar spine. Letting the sensations be as they are. This region is particularly prone to fatigue and strain. As you cradle the low back in your awareness, allowing perhaps any intensity of sensation to be included, and invite any tension to flow out with the out breath. And as you breathe out, letting go of the lower back and moving your attention into the region of the belly and the sides of the torso, right up to the bottom of the rib cage, feeling the belly arise and fall each breath. In touch with sensation. And recognizing any emotions that might be arising, passing away moment by moment, and breath by breath by breath. Now, when you're ready, taking a slow, deep, intentional breath into your belly and feel it fill the entirety of the abdomen. And as the breath flows out, dissolving our attention from this area into the area of the chest, the upper back, shoulder blades, collarbone. Can you feel the heart beating? The lungs expanding and contracting as they fill on the in-breath and release on the out-breath. Recognizing any feelings of contraction, tension, and any emotions that might be arising and passing away as we linger here. And when you are ready, taking a long, slow, more intentional breath in, feeling the ribcage expand into the front, back, and sides of the chest, and then let the breath release. And as the breath lets go, notice if the mind lets go as well. Bringing your awareness to the hands, the wrists, the forearms, the elbows, the upper arms, the armpits, and the shoulder. Feeling both arms from hands to shoulders as we lie here. And when you are ready, once again on the out breath, let go and experience yourself lying, resting in awareness. As we move now into the region of the neck and throat. This is another region where stress and tension can accumulate. Being aware of any sensations of tension are experienced here. Just being with the experience as it is, as best you can, moment by moment, breath by breath. And when you're ready, move your awareness into the head, feeling the back of the head on the surface you were lying on. Noticing the mouth, nose, cheeks, ears, and whatever sounds coming into the ears, eyes, forehead, temples, crown of the head. Aware of any and all sensations of the face and head, just as they are in this moment, breathing with them. Recognizing any thoughts or emotions that might be moving through the mind, like clouds in the sky. And when you are ready, breathing into the whole area of the head, and on the out breath, letting go of this region as well, letting it dissolve into neutral, into stillness and natural peacefulness. As the breath lets go, as the mind lets go, and we come to rest in awareness itself. That we can once again hold the whole body in spacious awareness, from the feet, legs, torso, arms, shoulders, neck, and head. Embracing the body as we find it, and just resting in awareness and stillness, complete just as we are, whole as we are, in touch with our essential completeness. The limitations are not confined here. We're open to things as they are. This orientation to awareness itself is profoundly healing. And as this practice comes to its natural conclusion, you may want to take the time to congratulate yourself for having made this time for nurturing yourself in this way. Forming an intention and resolve to keep practicing regularly in the days, weeks, and months to come, to befriend yourself in this way over and over again, and let your deep inner resources nourish your life as the tendencies of the habitual and driven doing are recognized and healed by the domain of being. Resting in silence and stillness. Allowing things to be as they already are. Moment by moment by moment. As we lie here, fully awake, fully aware, bathing in the breath, in silence, in awareness itself. And you feel ready. If your eyes were closed, you can slowly open them. Begin to gently stretch and move. Okay, so this is a poem, which to me is another way of being mindful. And this is a poem by Mary Oliver, and it's called The Journey. And it's a really good one to start off our journey together. One day, you finally knew what you had to do. Though the voices around you kept shouting their bad advice. Though the whole house began to tremble and you felt the old tug at your ankles. "Mend my life," each voice cried. But you didn't stop. You knew what you had to do. Though the wind pried with its stiff fingers at the very foundations, though their melancholy was terrible. It was already late enough and a wild night, and the road full of fallen branches and stones. But little by little, as you left their voices behind, the stars began to burn through the sheets of clouds, and there was a new voice, a voice you recognized as your own, that kept you company as you strode deeper and deeper into the world, determined to do the only thing you could do, determined to save the only life you could save. Stop recording.